Into Apalachicola. We're going to talk more about the issues we're seeing as far as travel goes coming up in just a few minutes. But there is a new advisory from the National Hurricane Center on what is now Tropical Storm Michael. So for that, let's go to Dr. Navarro. Dr. Navarro.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. With the 2 p.m. advisory from the Hurricane Center, we're still looking at Tropical Storm Michael with estimated wind speeds here around 50 miles per hour. Still also moving steadily off to the northeast at a quick forward motion of 23 miles per hour. This center of circulation here is now 25 miles to the south of Greensboro, North Carolina. So we're still seeing here wind speeds that supports tropical storm strength. We're also expecting Michael to continue pushing across North Carolina today, eventually heading off towards the southeastern part of Virginia and eventually back out to sea by tomorrow morning. So we've still got a bit more time here with Hurricane Michael as before it heads out into the Atlantic. Likely still some very heavy rain to come down across portions of the Carolinas. We still have tropical storm warnings that are up for portions of South Carolina, including Columbia, as well as much of North Carolina here, including Charlotte, Raleigh, and Wilmington. So these areas here still stand the chance of seeing that threat for flash flooding. This could potentially be life-threatening in some areas. A lot of the strongest winds have been staying offshore, but we also still, of course, have a tornado threat today. With this system, as those outer bands and that core of circulation persists, we could also be seeing brief spin-ups of tornadoes as well. So many threats still exist with Michael. Please, if you can, stay inside and hunker down a little while longer, as there's still a lot more things, Chris, that we have to get through with Michael before we're finally said and done. Chris?
And Dr. Navarro, thank you so much. And another reminder of just how important it is. I've personally seen a lot of trees down on homes, and you can only imagine how scary that would be if you were riding out a storm. And it doesn't have to be a Category 4 hurricane for that to happen, especially when we look at the Carolinas and we look at just how much water, how much rain has come, just the loose soils that exist with all of the rain that has happened lately and is coming also with Michael. And what we've seen here, I'm in East Point now, which about 6 or 7 miles to the east of Apalachicola. And this is Highway 98. And this scene right here has been duplicated and is repeated down 98. This is essentially the main line here into and out of Apalachicola once you get to east of the bay, Apalachicola Bay. So storm surge here, definitely one of the biggest impact, one of the biggest factors with Hurricane Michael, now Tropical Storm Michael, with the heavy rain, even that tornado threat. Let's go to South Carolina and Aiken, and that's where we find meteorologist Mike Seidel. Hey, Mike.
Hey, we're back here on the ground here in Aiken, South Carolina. We're not far from Augusta. This area took what was left of Michael, Tropical Storm Michael, this morning, generally between about 3 and 6 a.m., 2 to 3 inches of rain here. Over in Columbia, almost 5 inches of rain, prompting a flash flood warning, and enough wind to knock down some trees and power. Here in Aiken County, they have done a tremendous job. When we got on the air this morning, 35 to 40% of the customers without power. Now that's down to a mere 7%. So the power is coming on very quickly. They had 20 major road closures in Aiken at sunrise, and now everything is open. We've been following the restoration of power here. They just got a new pole in. They brought the auger out. A new pole is in. You can see what's left of the other pole kind of dangling. So we got to get the power crews now up there to untangle the wires. This area is without power, as you can imagine. And I just talked to a homeowner in the woods, and she said this is only the second time in 10 years they've lost power. The other time was 2015, if you remember that tremendous ice storm tied into the Snowmageddon in Atlanta. We'll come down here, and they're getting ready to maybe put in these two poles there. That's what's left of the pole that you saw that was snapped. Walk down to this intersection, and you'll see why they're down here. Another power pole snapped and down on the ground, along with a transformer. We don't know. It looks like a tree hit the power pole and snapped it off, so they're going to be working on this one next. And we're going to talk to the PIO from the Aiken Public Service Department coming up in a minute. He can fill us in on what they've been doing and how the recovery is going as we continue our aftermath coverage on this American disaster.
911 emergency.
My husband, he's having trouble breathing.
First responders hear it a lot. And everyone age 65 and older needs to hear it too. The flu and its complications can be deadly, especially for those with a chronic medical condition. That's why there are higher strength flu vaccines for seniors. Ask your doctor or pharmacist for a senior flu shot. Do it today before the flu becomes an emergency. See your healthcare provider or visit these pharmacies.
So a tree falls in your brand new car and totals it. And as if that wasn't bad enough, now your insurance won't replace it outright because of depreciation. If your insurance won't replace your car, what good is it? You'd be better off just taking your money and throwing it right into the harbor. I regret that.
With new car replacement, if your brand new car gets totaled, Liberty Mutual will pay the entire value plus depreciation. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Yes, we are twins. When I went on to Ancestry, I just put in the name of my parents and my grandparents. And I was getting all these leaves, and I was going back generation after generation.
You start to see documents, and you see signatures of people that you've never met.
I mean, you don't know these people, but you feel like you do. You get connected to them. I wish that I could get into a time machine and go back 100 years, 200 years, and just meet these people. Being on Ancestry, it just made me feel like I belonged somewhere.
Discover your story. Start searching for free now at Ancestry.com.
Do you use catheters? Are you using the catheter that's really best for you?
Oh, yeah.
For years, I'd been using one kind of catheter, and I never knew that there were other really great catheters available until Liberator sent me samples to try. If I had not tried the samples from Liberator, I might never have found the perfect catheter for me. Liberator Medical sent me a catheter that was easier for me to use right out of the package. Now that I've found the best catheter for me, it's made my life much easier. My catheters were completely paid for, not a dime out of my pocket.
There are so many innovative catheters. Get the best catheter for you. Call Liberator Medical. Get your free catheter sample pack.
Call 1-800-780-1977. That's 1-800-780-1977.
We heard of significant impacts at Tyndall Air Force Base.
It's going to take a while to clean up from something like this.
The widespread damage is the norm here. We've got sheet metal everywhere, power lines down galore.
Tracking Hurricane Michael, what was Hurricane Michael and now Tropical Storm Michael as it made landfall here on the Weather Channel and now as it is crushing through parts of the southeast, including the Carolinas, who have already been hit so hard by Hurricane Florence. And recovery, while the storm is still going on in some areas, recovery is in full swing here along Florida's Gulf Coast. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren, and I'm standing on part of Highway 98 right now in East Point, Florida, about 6 or 7 miles to the east of Apalachicola. And what we're looking at right now and what we're seeing are the crews. And I just spoke to some contractors here with Duke Energy, and I spoke with one of them, and what they're doing is they're coming in. They're the ones right now clearing the way for the resources that need to get in. So for additional first responders, for fire crews, for additional cleanup crews, what we have here, they're coming through and they're cutting whatever trees happen to still be in the road. They're also getting, that's what we see the utility trucks here, that they're getting the power lines out of the way. They're not here right now to get the power back on. In this particular instance, what they're doing is clearing the way so everyone else, the gentleman I spoke to said that there are a lot of resources that just can't get here right now that are trying to get here. And that's one of the big issues when dealing with a coastal area. There's not a lot of ways in and out. You have a lot of forest around and, of course, the water as well. And it was this water that caused this to Highway 98 here in Florida, as you can see, just completely washed out. There's just a little ways to get around it up top, and crews again cleaning things off, cleaning off the road with the debris, cleaning up the branches and the trees, and trying to get the power lines out of the way so everyone is safe and able to get in, the resources needed to get in. And areas farther to my west, Mexico Beach into Panama City and in Panama City Beach hit much harder than here. I spoke with the sheriff, A.J. Smith. I spoke with him a little bit earlier, and he was telling me, he's the sheriff with Franklin County, and he was telling me that people were calling him and saying, hey, what can we do? How can we help? And he's like, you know, my colleagues, he's talking to sheriffs in Bay and Gulf County, he says, call them. And as bad as it is here, he knows how catastrophic the damage was in parts of Gulf and Bay counties. And as we look at the damage that we're seeing here, we need to remember that Michael's not over yet. It is still happening. It's still a tropical storm. With the latest and a look at the advisory from the National Hurricane Center, let's go back to the Weather Channel with Dr. Erica Navarro. Dr. Navarro. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. There are still many people who are being affected by Tropical Storm Michael. Of course, that storm has weakened as it's moved over land, but that does not mean the impacts have stopped. Very heavy rain and ongoing flash flooding is occurring here across the Mid-Atlantic and into the Carolinas with Michael as it pushes off to the north and east. We still have tropical storm warnings in effect for much of the Carolinas here. Strong gusty winds, power outages, downed trees, and of course that threat for flash flooding. All of these things still exist here as we look ahead towards the rest of the day and Michael pushes across the area. Right now we have a trough here, an upper level trough that's pushing Michael off to the north and east. It's moving steadily here at about 23 miles per hour. So fast forward motion likely limiting that flash flood threat, but still nonetheless, look at the extent of this rainfall here. Some of that is from the upper level feature, but still we have ongoing flash flood warnings here for much of the Carolinas and now southern Virginia with numerous road closures, trees down, and again, many areas also being affected by mudslides. These threats will continue here throughout the day today. It likely will be only another 24 or so hours before Michael here exits back off into the Atlantic, but effects will continue here across portions of the Delmarva into even Pennsylvania. We still have a lot to come, especially with the remnants of the northern side of that eye wall. That's this feature here. Let's talk a little bit about this. As we look ahead, move forward in time, notice that core of circulation here continues to spin off to the east, but areas around southern and central Virginia are likely to receive 3 to 4 inch rainfall rates here with that northern eye wall. So Richmond, you could be in store for some very heavy rain for several hours. And then notice a lot of that moves off towards Maryland, then Delmarva, so Baltimore, even Norfolk, Virginia. We could be looking at several inches of rain for you here tonight. Now look at this is towards the evening hours, 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then portions of New Jersey, Delaware as well. You could be in for some very heavy rain into the overnight hours before that core of circulation finally exits out to sea. Some stray showers may make it up as well into the Cape Cod and portions of Massachusetts, but this is still a substantial amount of rain. Chris, some of these areas have been heavily hit by Florence as well as just throughout this summer. We certainly don't need any more rainfall at this point, Chris. No, we definitely do not need any more of that. And as quickly as the storm came here along Florida's Gulf Coast, it moved away. It's sunny now. There's a breeze. It's hot. Reminder that people don't have air conditioning because still hundreds of thousands without power, without electricity. We're seeing some of the utility crews coming through, clearing the way, making sure it's safe for additional crews and responders to come in and help with the cleanup and recovery efforts. But this storm, as we look at just a few clouds here along the Gulf Coast and Appalachia Bay here, Apalachicola Bay, looking off in this direction, off to the left of where we're looking right now, is where Michael went off to, where it is right now. And with that, parts of the Carolinas still set to get hit hard with some potentially strong storms, heavy rain, and still the possibility for tornadoes. Let's get the latest right now from South Carolina and meteorologist Mike Seidel, who's in Aiken, South Carolina. Mike.
Hey, Chris, good afternoon from Aiken, just outside of Augusta, Georgia, across the Savannah River, where power is coming back on very quickly. This morning, down about 30% of the customers without power in this county. Now it's about 7%, so they're working fast and furious. And we've got Lieutenant Jake Mahoney, who is the PIO, Public Information Officer, for the city of Aiken. And we appreciate you coming out. I know it's been a long day, but what a remarkable cleanup and recovery. I know it certainly doesn't pale in comparison to what took place in Florida, but you had your own issues this morning.
Sure, we had an ice storm, which was kind of a warm-up for us. Back in 2015, we learned a lot of lessons from that, and we applied those lessons this morning. A lot of high winds, some heavy rain, but our crews were out early. Our public works guys, those are the true heroes out there, along with the utility workers. And, it was really fantastic. Our community, they listened to us. We urged them to stay off the road, and they did, and it allowed us to get in and do what we needed to do and start restoring the power and getting life back to normal.
And how many roads were closed this morning at first light?
There were dozens. A lot of trees down, power lines down, and anytime you have trees and power lines commingled, that's going to take a little while.
And we've got the power company here replacing what seems to be about the only game in town, fortunately, as far as reconstruction at this point.
What was great, our crews were out as the rain's still falling, the wind's still blowing, already clearing the roadways. That communication with our utility workers, identifying where they needed to get to work, what was urgent, really helped us get ahead of the game.
And what's ahead for the next, say, 6 to 12 hours as far as the power? Also, any curfew?
No curfew. Our crews that were out early this morning, they're going to do what they need to do for the rest of the day, go home, get some rest, and then they'll be back out first thing in the morning. Okay, Lieutenant Jake Mahoney. No, it's been a long day. By the way, shout out to the city of Aiken, because you guys are cross-trained, you told me, fire and police, and there aren't that many communities in the country. It's usually one or the other. That's correct. We're a public safety department, nationally accredited through CLIA. We got a ISO number 2 rating. We take a lot of pride in what we do. Having that experience of that law enforcement and fire experience really comes in handy, especially in events like this. Oh, congratulations, and we appreciate the help. Thanks. And real quick, we'll swing around, and we showed you this earlier. They got the new pole up. Now they've got to get the wires off part of the old pole, and the crews are over there, and they will get those back up and hopefully get the power back on. As I said earlier, lady lives in the house in the corner here. They've only lost power twice in 10 years. As he mentioned, the ice storm and here with Tropical Storm Michael. Let's go to Justin Michaels, who took the core up in Fayetteville. And Justin, we know what Fayetteville went through with Florence. Yeah. Fortunately, this time with the forward motion, they're not getting anything like they did as far as rainfall totals.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mike, people here can't say and be thankful enough about that. The fact that this thing is moving more than 20 miles an hour away from them at this point. And in fact, a little bit of good news to report here from Fayetteville, North Carolina right now. It seems like the rain is beginning to taper off. Talking to Dr. Postel earlier today, this is about the time he said that would begin to happen, and it certainly is. However, there's a flash flood warning in effect here right now, and also a tornado watch in effect in Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and surrounding areas through 9 o'clock tonight. So we're not out of the woods just yet. The danger is still present, and make sure you have an evacuation route, of course, if that tornado watch turns into a warning and things really ramp up later today. But a little bit of good news as the rain is beginning to taper off. Let's talk to Assistant Fire Chief Robert Brinson right now. Chief, thank you so much for being with us. So you're the Assistant Fire Chief here in Fayetteville, and you do special command. So you're dealing with rescues, helping people who are in bad situations. Your team helps them get out. Absolutely. How are things going right now because of Michael?
So everything is going well at this time. We were, like you said earlier, we've been really blessed with the storm skirting us the way it has. Fast-moving storm came in, got out here very quickly, which was allowed us to better prepare ourselves to where we're at now.
Well, and comparing this, of course, this is very light compared to just a month ago with Florence and 2 years ago with Matthew. We talked earlier about those numbers. Tell me how many rescues you guys have done in the past.
Okay. So Hurricane Matthew came in on a Saturday morning. During our first 12-hour operational period, we did 730 rescues by boat. That was more flash flooding. Florence came in, which was more predictable, some flood analysis of the mapping and some of the gaps we learned from Matthew. We actually brought that down, and some of the mandatory evacuations that the city put in place here, we actually brought our rescue total to 132 during our operational period for Florence.
And Chief Brinson, so we're talking, 800-900 people you've had to rescue in the last 2 years. So you kind of have an idea of what the people in Florida are going to be going through. Places like Mexico Beach, Panama City Beach. So tell us, from your perspective as a first responder and a rescuer, what are these communities about to find themselves in the middle of as far as rescues?
Okay. So first off, our thoughts and prayers go out to the citizens and the transients in Florida. They're dealing with a lot right now. But what I think they're going to deal with more so moving forward is not the emergent impact of ongoing flooding rescues and people at that state right now. I think what you're going to look at is you're dealing with an area with zero infrastructure now. You have zero power, you have zero cell phone coverage. There's a lot of things that are taking place down there, and you're having to really build everything from scratch. What you're going to see in Florida moving forward with those people is having to deal with the tech search side. So all these structures that have been damaged from the storm, and some of the ones have been blown up their foundation, they've been completely blown away. You're going to have these larger rescue teams go in there, boots on the ground, doing technical searches of these structures, trying to clear and trying to rescue and do body recovery pretty much from here moving forward.
So this is just getting started for the rescue teams there.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got a long road ahead of them. They're going to have many years to recover from this. The rescue phase, I'm sure, will go in for the first 7 days of this storm to try to get any viable victims out there they can. After that, it usually typically turns into a body recovery, and they go in and start sending their tech search crews in, or trying to recover the best they can.
All right, and Chief, very quickly, are you sending anybody down?
Currently, right now, we're on standby with the state of North Carolina, so we're waiting on orders to be mobilized out. Yes,
Chief Robert Brinson, thank you for your time, and thank you for your service. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Navarro, as you can see, as far north as Fayetteville, North Carolina, they're on standby to help Florida's coast. And of course, there's a long way to go for those people, Dr. Navarro, but the storm is still impacting people inland, and we're talking about flooding. You're following that.
Absolutely, Justin. Thank you so much. There are still many areas, nearly 6 million people that are being affected by flash flooding right now. The majority of it is over western and central North Carolina, as well as west central Virginia. You can see all those green boxes showing you where those flash flood warnings are currently in effect. This is around Greensboro, North Carolina, Raleigh, Dansville, Martinsville, Virginia. You can see very heavy rain spreading with the remnants of that northern eyewall here, as well as off towards Roanoke and Lynchburg. So heavy rain likely pushing across I-81 as well as I-64. Numerous reports of downed trees, power lines, water rushing over roadways, mudslides in the mountains. These impacts are still ongoing for many of these people here across the East Coast. We've still got a long way to go. About 5 to 8 inches of rain potentially across this narrow swath here into the mid-Atlantic. But notice many areas still could be seeing roughly 3 to 5 inches of rain, even 2 to 3 inches of rain. With the amount of rainfall we've received so far this year, this is absolutely enough to cause flash flooding. So, Chris, even though the storm has weakened, these impacts are far from over across the East Coast. Chris?
That's exactly right, Dr. Navarro. On the Weather Channel, of course, here still walking you through the latest threats and dangers associated with Michael. And, of course, a lot of people wanting to know what the communities are like that they may have evacuated from, still trying to get word. We're in East Point, and looking at the power of this storm. Here's the Apalachicola Bay. Way off in the distance is St. George Island. There's a little breakwater as well, some rocks in the water. No match for the power of Hurricane Michael when it was coming on shore. And I want to show you, as the water, you can imagine how high this water was getting to do this sort of damage right here to Highway 98. And in fact, the counties to the west of where we are, Bay and Gulf counties, getting hit even harder, including Mexico Beach. Some of the video that we're starting to see, and we still don't have a full grasp of just the extent of the damage. We're still seeing pictures, still seeing video. But when you look at some of the damage from the air, it puts into perspective the immense power of these storms. And you can imagine, for the few that did stay behind, how horrifying it must have been to have been riding out this dangerous hurricane. Now,
bringing my Giovanni Rana pasta to everyone in America wasn't so easy. So I made it easy for America to find me. In the refrigerated section, Giovanni Rana pasta. Share what's inside.
I don't keep track of regrets. I never count the wrinkles. And I don't add up the years. But what I do count on is staying happy and healthy. So I add protein, vitamins, and minerals to my diet with Boost.
New Boost High Protein Nutritional Drink now has 33% more high-quality protein, along with 26 essential vitamins and minerals your body needs, all with guaranteed great taste.
The upside? I'm just getting started.
Boost High Protein. Be up for life.
Your paycheck. Your family depends on it. But if something happened to you, you need life insurance. And chances are SelectQuote can get it for you for under $1 a day.
SelectQuote found Alec, 38, a $500,000 policy for under $23 a month. SelectQuote found Kenesha, 37, a $750,000 policy for under $23 a month.
SelectQuote's secret? They impartially shop a select group of highly rated companies like these for your best rates. Give your family the security it needs at a price you can afford.
Since 1985, SelectQuote has saved over 1 million families millions of dollars on life insurance. Call now, 800-335-7200. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Discover what over 1 million families know. We shop, you save.
For every home project, HomeAdvisor finds trusted local pros. For every pro, you can read customer reviews. And for everybody's busy schedule, you can book appointments online. For every project, you have HomeAdvisor. Go to HomeAdvisor.com.
Lovely. How does one make such delightful cucumber sandwiches?
Frank's Red Hot sauce, Your Majesty. I put that on everything.
Frank's Red Hot Original. The perfect blend of flavor and heat.
When you eat a bowl of oatmeal, you're getting beta-glucan. That's a soluble fiber that slows the breakdown of carbohydrates. And that provides energy that lasts.
Politics doesn't just happen here. It happens here, 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 and most importantly for you, it happens here. So don't waste your campaign message here. Comcast Spotlight's advanced data-driven targeting capabilities help you find your audience. Whenever and wherever they're watching, consider them found. And with your message, we'll help you turn our viewers into your voters. With the power of Comcast Spotlight, we can turn I voted into I voted for you.
Come experience the Village Bouterie. Expect to be impressed. The Village Bouterie in Stewart and Tequesta.
84. Call now for your free information kit.
911 emergency.
A lot of things can change in an investigation, but the weather never lies.